Imagine a time when Iran and Israel were not foes but allies, engaged in deep strategic cooperation. This video will unravel the complex journey from a surprising alliance to a profound enmity that has shaped the Middle East. In the early 20th century, the Middle East was a tapestry of new nations in shifting alliances, emerging from the ashes of the Ottoman Empire. Amidst this changing landscape, the Pahlavi Dynasty rose to power in Iran, embarking on a path of modernization and Western alignment. This era set the stage for one of the most intriguing relationships in the region, the alliance between Iran and Israel. But how did these nations, seemingly at odds today, come to find common ground in the first place? The foundation of Iran-Israel relations. The collapse of the Ottoman Empire and the subsequent creation of modern states under European influence marked the beginning of a new era in the Middle East. Nationalist movements surged, and the region's strategic importance, especially its oil reserves, drew significant Western interest. It was against this backdrop that the Pahlavi Dynasty, led by Reza Shah Pahlavi, ascended to power in Iran in 1925. The new regime was characterized by its ambition to modernize and secularize Iran, aligning its policies and economic strategies closely with Western powers. This Western orientation was a defining feature of the Pahlavi rule and crucially influenced Iran's foreign relations throughout the 20th century. In 1950, Iran recognized Israel, becoming the second Muslim-majority country to do so after Turkey. This decision was not merely symbolic, it was strategic. Iran sought to align with non-Arab states to counterbalance the Arab nationalist movements, which it perceived as a threat to its own stability and interests. Moreover, this recognition was part of Iran's broader policy of strengthening ties with Western countries, especially the United States, which had supported the establishment of Israel. This early recognition laid the groundwork for a relationship that would evolve significantly over the coming decades. But how did the periphery doctrine play into the dynamics between Iran and Israel, and what were its broader implications on the Middle East? The periphery doctrine and its implications. The periphery doctrine was a strategic foreign policy initiative by Israel, primarily under its first Prime Minister, David Ben-Gurion. Conceived in the early years of the state, the doctrine aimed to strengthen Israel's position in the Middle East by forming alliances with non-Arab states and minority groups around its periphery, including Iran, Turkey, and the Kurds. This policy was driven by the need to counteract the hostility from Arab neighbors and to secure alliances that could offer economic, political, and military benefits. Iran's role in this doctrine was crucial. As a non-Arab state with significant strategic and economic capabilities, Iran was seen as a natural ally. The mutual benefits were clear. Israel gained a strategically placed ally with considerable influence, while Iran secured a partnership that could help counterbalance its Arab rivals and deepen its connections with the West, particularly the United States. The impact of the periphery doctrine on the Middle East's geopolitical dynamics was significant. It introduced a new layer of complexity to the regional power structures, challenging the dominant Arab nationalist narrative and providing Israel with crucial support at a time when it faced significant threats on multiple fronts. This doctrine not only influenced the political landscape but also had lasting implications on the regional alliances and conflicts. How did the strategic cooperation between Iran and Israel, based on the periphery doctrine, influence the development of their economic, political, and military ties during the Pahlavi era? The Pahlavi Dynasty and its relations with Israel. The Pahlavi Dynasty, under both Reza Shah Pahlavi and his son Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, ruled Iran from 1925 until the Iranian Revolution in 1979. This period was characterized by significant efforts to modernize and westernize Iran, aligning its policies closely with Western interests, particularly those of the United States and its allies. During this era, the relationship between Iran and Israel flourished, underpinned by the strategic imperatives of the periphery doctrine. The two nations developed close ties that encompassed economic, political, and military dimensions. Economically, Israel and Iran engaged in substantial trade exchanges, which included agricultural produce, construction materials, and military hardware. Politically, both countries benefited from mutual support in international arenas, often coordinating efforts to counteract regional threats and to enhance their diplomatic leverage. Militarily, the cooperation was perhaps the most significant. Iran supplied oil to Israel, and in return, Israel helped modernize the Iranian military by supplying weapons and technology. This military cooperation extended to joint training programs and intelligence sharing, which were crucial during a time when both countries faced significant threats from neighboring states and internal challenges. How did this deep-seated strategic cooperation between Iran and Israel influence Iran's broader geopolitical strategy, particularly in relation to the United States during the Cold War? The strategic value of Israel to Iran. Israel held considerable strategic value for Iran, primarily as a non-Arab ally in a region dominated by Arab nationalism and periodic conflicts. This alliance allowed Iran to counterbalance the influence of Arab countries and to secure a partner in its efforts to modernize and stabilize the region under its influence. The strategic partnership also provided Iran with advanced technology and military support, which were integral to its modernization goals. The role of the United States in supporting both Israel and Iran during the Cold War was pivotal. The U.S. viewed Iran as a key ally in the Middle East, serving as a bulwark against Soviet expansionism and as a stabilizing force in a region rich with oil resources. Similarly, the U.S. supported Israel as a strategic partner and as a democratic outpost in the Middle East. This tripartite relationship between Iran, Israel, and the United States facilitated extensive military, economic, and political cooperation, aligning their interests against common threats and enhancing their collective bargaining power on the global stage. The implications of this relationship were profound. It not only affected the regional balance of power but also influenced the dynamics of the Cold War in the Middle East. The Iran-Israel U.S. alliance served to contain Soviet influence in the region and to manage the Arab-Israeli conflict, albeit contributing to tensions with Arab nations and complicating the geopolitical landscape. How did the strategic dynamics between Iran and Israel change following the Iranian Revolution of 1979, and what were the immediate and long-term impacts on their bilateral relations? The shift towards hostility. The Iranian Revolution of 1979 marked a profound shift in the Middle East's geopolitical landscape, particularly in the relationship between Iran and Israel. This revolution, which saw the overthrow of Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi and the establishment of the Islamic Republic under Ayatollah Khomeini, dramatically altered Iran's foreign policy and its international alignments. The ideological shift in Iran was stark. The new regime, rooted in Shiite Islamic principles, viewed Israel as an illegitimate state and a close ally of the United States, which it vehemently opposed. This perspective was in stark contrast to the Shah's pro-Western and pragmatic approach to foreign policy, including his strategic cooperation with Israel. Almost immediately after the revolution, Iran severed all diplomatic ties with Israel and discontinued the economic and military collaborations that had characterized their relationship for decades. The severance of ties with Israel was accompanied by Iran's support for Palestinian groups and its calls for the liberation of Palestine, which further solidified its stance against Israel. This new foreign policy direction not only affected Iran-Israel relations but also influenced broader regional politics, aligning Iran with Arab states that had previously been hostile to the Pahlavi regime due to its ties with Israel and the West. The subsequent decades saw the evolution of Iran-Israel relations into a state of hostility, marked by indirect confrontations and proxy conflicts. Iran's support for Hezbollah in Lebanon and other groups opposed to Israel has been a significant aspect of its foreign policy. Meanwhile, Israel has expressed concerns over Iran's nuclear program and its role in regional conflicts, leading to a complex and tense relationship that continues to influence Middle East geopolitics. This shift from strategic cooperation to deep-seated hostility highlights the significant impact of ideological and political changes on international relations, particularly in a region as volatile as the Middle East.